You can go ahead. You want me to share a PPT, Mataji?
Oh no, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Today,
Screen sharing?
yeah, I'll hold on 1 second. Let me just go. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes. Yeah, if you want, I can also do the screen sharing so we can see your video. Otherwise, we can't see
Yeah,
the.
sure, Prabhuji, please go ahead. That will be nice. What
Okay.
should I do to turn it off?
You can just tell me when to move. You just turn it off and I can turn it on. You just
Yeah,
tell me
sure.
verse and then I'll scroll to that verse.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. You can get started with the Mangalasana. I'll just start it.
All right. ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुषुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मत्समो नास्ति पापात्मा नापराधी च कश्चन परिहारे अपि लज्जामि किं ब्रूवे पुरुषोत्तम। युवतीनं यथा यूनं च युवतौ यथा मनो अभिरमते तद्वा मनो मे रमतां त्वयि। भूमौ स्खलितपादानां भूमिरेवावलम्बनं त्वयि जाता परात्मा त्वाम् एव शरणं प्रभु। गोविन्द वल्लभे राधे प्रार्थये त्वामहं सदा त्वदीयमिति जानातौ गोविन्दो मां त्वया सह। राधे वृन्दावनाधीशे करुणामृतवाहिनी कृपया निजपादाब्ज दास्यं मह्यं प्रतीयताम्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Hare Krishna. Click on my icon for the screen sharing so that we can see both Mataji and Bhagavatam verse as we need.
Which one did you say, Prabhu? Which icon?
One of the icons that shows the Bhagavatam on the bottom.
Okay, so
Are you able to see?
No, I'm able to see the verse on my screen.
Okay, good. That's what I meant. Okay, you are
Okay.
already tuned there.
okay, so let's get started. And this chapter is about the conversation, continuing the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. It's kind of a summary of what we read so far in the first chapter regarding creation and all that, but it's a bit technical. So please bear with me. And I tried my best to prepare. And with your permission and blessings, I'll try to share whatever I gathered through my learning. So in the first verse, Shaunaka is asking Suta Goswami about once the Lord Varaha lifted the earth and put it in its orbit, what did Manu do, especially Swayambhava Manu, do to teach people how to progress in the path of liberation? So in the purport, Prabhupada says that there are many, the 14 Manus, and the boar incarnation, the Varaha incarnation, happened when Swayambhuva Manu was ruling. But in the present age of the Kali Yuga that we are in, Vaivasvata Manu is the ruler. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain the technicalities of how long is the uh, age of Manu lasts, which is 4,320,000 multiplied by 72 solar years. And then Prabhupada also explains like what is the purpose of the main activity of this Manu, because the purpose of human life is to go back to Godhead and realize who we are and realize the self. So there should be somebody who gives the scriptural regulations so that the conditioned soul can progress towards salvation. And that is done by Manu. And also Prabhupada says that though Manu gives all the things, the material world itself is created by Krishna, because the living entities in this material world wants to have full facility for attachment, for their enjoyment. So the Lord creates the world and for the living entities attachment, and then Manu gives us the regulation so that we can follow those regulations and go back home, back to Godhead. So that is the first question that Shaunaka is asking, and then he's also asking about Vidura in the next verse. He's asking that about Vidura, because Vidura was a great devotee and he was a friend of Lord Krishna, and then he gave up the association of Dhritarashtra. And then why did he give up the association? Because he tried to manipulate the desires of the Lord. So the devotees don't like it. So Vidura didn't speak anything, he just walked away. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that Vidura, in his family relationship with Krishna, he was a friend of the Lord, but not only just a friend, but he was a great devotee of the Lord. So when Krishna went as a messenger and he tried to stop the war, they refused to accept his proposal. So what did Vidura do? Vidura just left the palace. And Prabhupada says that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. Unfit for human habitation. That's very strong. So Prabhupada goes on to say that a devotee can tolerate the misbehavior towards oneself, but not towards the Lord or Lord's devotees. And then there is one special word that Prabhupada says is very significant, which is Aghavan. Aghavan means Dhritarashtra's son. What that word indicates is that the Dhritarashtra's sons lost the war because they disobeyed the orders of Krishna. Because they became sinful by not obeying the orders of Krishna, the instructions of Krishna, and that is why they lost the war. I think that this applies to our lives too, because no matter how much hard we work, if we don't follow the instructions of Krishna, then we fail in all our attempts. And then he goes on to explain that Vidura was born from the body of Vedavyas, and then he accepted Lord Krishna's lotus feet wholeheartedly, and he was very much attached to all the devotees of Lord Krishna. So we all know that Vidura was born of a Shudra mother through Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva is supposed to be an incarnation of Narayana, and he composed all the Vedic literatures. So, because of that touch, Vidura is not less than a great personality. He himself was so great. And what is his greatness? His greatness is that he accepted the Lord as the worshipable, um, as his worship Lord of heart, and then he also followed the instructions of Lord wholeheartedly. So once Vidura left the palace, let's move on to the fourth verse where he's saying that he traveled to all sacred places for what? To get purified of the passion. And then finally he reached Haridwar and he met the great sage Maitreya, and from whom he inquired from him about the process of self-realization. So Shaunaka is asking, what more did Vidura inquire? So this is a kind of a summary of what we have, uh, what is a, how Vidura ended up in discussion with Maitreya. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that by traveling to the places of pilgrimages, one gets completely cleansed of the contamination. And the particular word that's used is Virajas Tirtha Sevaya. Virajas Tirtha Sevaya. And then Prabhupada says that Vidura wanted to purify himself by traveling to all the sacred places. And then anybody, in India there are so many sacred places, and whoever goes there, they become automatically purified. And let me read the exact sentence Prabhupada says about Vrindavana. This is especially true in Vrindavana. Any person may go there, and even if he is sinful, he will at once contact an atmosphere of spiritual life and will automatically chant the names of Krishna and Radha. So, such is the glory of Vrindavana that one would be forced to chant names of Radha and Krishna by the atmosphere that's prevalent there. And Prabhupada says that this type of travel one should do because in the Vanaprastha life one should travel and try to purify themselves. But the main point is one should not go to a holy place just because to take bath or do some ritualistic activities. If we just do that, then it's a waste of time, because the best use of time in a place of pilgrimage is to meet a devotee or a great acharya who can teach us and enlighten us in the knowledge of Bhagavatam or about the knowledge of Krishna. Otherwise, Prabhupada says, because these days the places are so contaminated that even the impression of seeing the behavior of the present residents in these pilgrimage sites may disturb our faith. So, better off to concentrate one's mind on Govinda in any place than to go there just to take bath or whatever ritualistic activities. But it's highly beneficial if we go to the pilgrimage place and be in the association of advanced devotees. And the technical term that Prabhupada uses for such a person is Tattvavit. Means we have to go to a pilgrimage place and have the association of Tattvavit. Tattvavit means one who knows the absolute truth. And then Prabhupada gives a confidence, because sometimes we become so morose, like, how will I go there? How will I find a nice person who will guide me? So Prabhupada says if one is very sincere in their attempts, then when we sincerely search for spiritual salvation, the Krishna within our heart will give us the intelligence to find a suitable spiritual master. And then by the grace of that, we will get proper instructions and advance in spiritual life. So sincerity is the key. And through that sincerity, everything else comes. And then in the verse 5, Prabhupada goes on to explain that, first of all, Shaunaka is inquiring more. that, okay, now two devotees, Vidura and Maitri, are talking. They might not be talking about any material things. So they must be talking about the narrations of the Lord, of the pastimes of the Lord. And then hearing those narrations is as good as taking bath in the water of Ganges, because just by hearing, all sinful reactions will be vanquished. So then Prabhupada explains that the Ganges water comes from the lotus feet of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita comes from the mouth of the Lord. But as far as the Supreme Lord is concerned, his words, his perspirations, his pastimes, everything is the same. There is no difference between them, because all of them are in the absolute platform, and even if we take one of those, shelter of one of those is equally good. We'll get the ultimate benefit by doing that. So but the main essence of the whole spiritual devotional service is that whatever activity we do, we have to do it in relationship with Krishna. So when we do that in relationship with Krishna, then we are not in a material platform. We will always be in a spiritual platform, and our tendency to engage in this hearing and about the pastimes, everything will be very perfect. Then Sutta Goswami starts answering. Sutta Goswami further says that Saunaka is again inquiring further. He says that how the Lord's pastimes are magnanimous and those are worth glorifying, and a devotee is never satiated by hearing those pastimes. So Prabhupada makes a wonderful point, because no matter Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are so old, and every day we read that, and Prabhupada says thousands of times, if you read again and again and again, there will always be some new aspects of the subject matter that a devotee will relish. A devotee will never be bored with reading the Bhagavatam unless he commits any serious offenses, because then the taste will then dwindle. But as long as one sincerely tries to progress in the path of spiritual life, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam will never be tasteless for that devotee. So now, from verse 7, Sutta Goswami starts speaking. His mind is always absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord. And in verse 8, he says that how Vidura was so happy to hear about the story of the Lord, how he assumed the form of a divine form of a boar, and he took the earth from the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean and fought and killed the Hiranyaksha demon. And then in the purport, Prabhupada highlights two main important concepts, that the Lord takes the form of a boar, or not only the form of the boar, any form that the Lord takes is through his internal potency. But sometimes what is this Mayavadi say is the Brahman, which is the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord, the Mayavadi say that the Brahman assumes a form, and that form is Maya. But Prabhupada says that that is not true, because Maya is under the power of the Supreme Lord. So it's not possible for Maya to overcome the Lord, that the Lord gets a form because of his activities or whatever it is. So Prabhupada negates and smashes the point of Maya by saying that the Lord takes a material form. Rather, whatever form the Lord takes is through his internal potency. And Vidura is now talking, the conversation goes a level higher, and then now Vidura is saying, okay, now that all these pastimes happened, what did Brahma do to create living beings after creating the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings? like what's happening in Brahma's day-to-day activities. And the purport Prabhupada explains one significant word which means avyakta margavit. Means avyakta margavit means like, so we always want to know some things that are beyond our perception. Means it's not only in the material things, especially in spiritual things, there are so many things that is beyond our perception. So there should be a way for us to know that reality. And Prabhupada uses this example of how if you want to know who your father is, ask your mother. Because knowing that is beyond your perception. Just you have to follow the authority. So in this material world, the first Avyakta Margavid is Brahma. And because Maitreya is coming in the disciplic succession, he is also Avyakta Margavrit, means a personality who knows that which is beyond perception. Vidura further inquires in verse 10, like how the Prajapatis, like Marichi and Swayambhuva Manu, they how did they did this secondary job of creation, following the instructions of Brahma, and how did they evolve this manifested universe? And then Vidura further asking that in verse 11, did they evolve the creation in conjunction with their wives, or did they remain independent of that action, or did they all jointly produce it? How did the universe came into existence? And in verse 12, Maitreya is answering that the same concept of how we said that when the three modes of material nature was agitated by the unseen activity, which is karma of the living entity, by Mahavishnu, and by the force of time, the total material elements were produced. So this is going back again to the basics of how the material world is created. So Prabhupada says the first cause is Daiva, means the destiny of the conditioned soul. Means why does this material creation exist? Because it's for those people who want to lord it over. But we cannot tell when did that first desire to lord it over enter into our heart. But one thing is for sure, that the moment we think about our sense enjoyment is a sum and substance of our life, then we forget our prime duty, which is to render the service to the Lord. Then what do? We create an atmosphere for sense enjoyment, and that is called Maya. So the first reason why a prison house exists in this material world is because the jail exists because there are prisoners, because there are people who break the law. So that's the first cause. And then the next word, the next technical word that Prabhupada uses is durvit tark kena. Means he's again emphasizing the point that nobody can explain, like, how did I become interested in this sense enjoyment? How did I become desirous of this sense enjoyment? We cannot know that. But because the desire is there, the secondary means then Vishnu, like how the government itself creates the prison, like that, this personality of Godhead creates this material world to facilitate our sinful desires. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain that the material nature or Prakriti, which is the essence, is agitated by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And that's how the world came into existence. And he explains there are three Vishnus. One is Mahavishnu, who is also called Karanadokshayi Vishnu, who lays down on the Karana ocean. And there is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and Shirodakashayi Vishnu. Everything is explained in the first canto. Right? So this whole entire Prakriti works under the supervision of Vishnu. And Vishnu creates it simply by his glance. But the main point that Prabhupada is making is that because this material manifestation comes from the Supreme Lord, we cannot say that the God himself has transformed into this material manifestation. That's not possible, because he is always there in his original form. But this is, it's very difficult to comprehend, like how these energies works and how our destiny works and how do we get the body, everything. But in all this whole ordeal, this Supreme Person accompanies us always as Paramatma. And then in verse 13, the same concept is explained, where by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of three kinds, and it came from Mahatattva. In the Mahatattva, the entire creation, the mode that predominates is the passion, the mode of passion. And then from that ego comes like many groups of five principles. Means this is the same, it's just a very different technical term in which it's explained. So first is the material nature consists of three modes, and it creates four groups of five. So first group is elementary, means the Pancha Mahabhuta. So the first group is earth, water, air, fire, ether. And the second group is Tanmatra, which is sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. And the third group is knowledge, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, through which we gain the sense organs. Yeah, because the Jnanendriyas, the senses through which we gain knowledge. And the fourth is Karmendriya, the five working senses: speech, hands, feet, anus, and genitals. So those are the four groups of five. But some people say that there is five groups of five, and they say that the fifth group is the five deities which control these five divisions. So that is the fifth group. And Maitreya still continues. Though all these elements are there, but they cannot produce anything, because even in this material world, there is rice, there is salt, there is water. If you keep it separate, nothing happens. Everything has to be combined to create anything. So, but separately they cannot produce anything. Just a simple example. So, like that, Maitreya is saying that separately they cannot produce, but they combined with the energy of the Supreme Lord, and then there is a, means I haven't like realized, or I couldn't envision or go deeper into this. I'm just saying, like very technically, we're at a very superficial level, like how this is happening, because it's so complex to understand logically how this creation happens. So please bear with me. So this is how I understand that this everything combined and comes in the form of a shining egg, and that shining egg lives in the water of the Karana ocean without any life for thousands of years. And then it's almost, that is matter, it's gross matter. It's all combined, there is an egg, but it's gross matter. But then there has to be life. So then Garbhodaka Vishnu enters into it. So, and then Prabhupada makes the point that all the universes, considering this text, Prabhupada says that maybe not maybe, it appears that all universes are floating in the causal ocean. Now, in the next verse, it said that how now there was an egg, it was not able to produce anything, and then Garbhodakashayi Vishnu entered into it. Now, from the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's navel, a lotus flower sprouted, and that lotus flower was blazing like thousands of suns. And this lotus flower is the reservoir of all conditioned souls. And from that lotus flower, the first living, because there are so many conditioned souls in that lotus flower, the first conditioned soul that came out of that lotus flower is Lord Brahma. So Prabhupada has explained that when the dissolution happens, when everything ends, all the living entities, the spiritual sparks, go and rest in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the whole thing came out in the form of a lotus when the creation starts. And that is called Hiranyagarbha. And then why is this lotus so effulgent as thousands of suns is because Krishna is effulgent and we are parts and parcels of Krishna. So like how Krishna diffuses his body glare, the Brahma Jyoti, a minute amount of that is there in the parts and parcels also. So the combined effect of all the conditioned souls who rested in the body of Mahavishnu before the dissolution and now coming out as the lotus flower. That's why the lotus flower was so glaring. Effulgence was there in that lotus flower. And Prabhupada explains that that's not artificially created because it is said in Bhagavad Gita that everything is self-effulgent in Vaikuntha. So there is no need of electricity or moonshine or sunshine or anything like that. So he goes on to explain in verse 17 how Brahma's intelligence was invoked when was imparted by Krishna, and with that intelligence Brahma starts creating the universe. So we all know this the flow of how the creation takes place, how Karna Dokashaya Vishnu lies on the Karna ocean and he produces thousands of universe through his breathing from all the pores, and then same Vishnu enters into each universe as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu and he fills up half of the universe with his own perspiration, which is water, and the remaining half is vacant, which we call as outer space. And then from this Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, the first living entity is created, who is called Lord Brahma. So now once Brahma starts creating, this Vishnu of Kshirodakashayi enters into the heart of every living entity. So, and from that Lord comes our remembrance and intelligence. So we said that because of karma, the living entities get the material world and they get the form. But who registers what you did and what was your previous tendencies and who is directing you to act according to your desire? That is this Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. It's almost like a software is already installed, and before you even get your whole body, because this Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, all remembrance and forgetfulness according to your own capacity and according to your karma that you have done is instigated, means is invoked by the Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. So Prabhupada goes on to say that even Brahma, in this verse they say that Brahma is independent because Krishna has given him so much power and intelligence to create. And Prabhupada uses the example of how sometimes the manager is as independent as the owner of the firm. So whatever the creative power that Lord Brahma got is by the grace of the Supreme Lord. So similarly, a minute of that a scientist may also create, may also get this from this material world. But nobody can gain that such type of knowledge outside of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. No, so now starts Brahma's job. what does Brahma do first? So now Krishna has given him a job, and Brahma starts working day in and day out. What does he do? The first thing he does is he creates the coverings of ignorance of the conditioned soul. It's such a painful job for Brahma to do, because the first thing that he should create is the covering of ignorance. And Prabhupada says there are 5 in number. One is Tamisra, under Tamisra, Tamas, Moha, and Mahamoha. So what is Tamishra? Tamishra means the very thought that we want to enjoy separate from Krishna. And let me read to you what Prabhupada says. It is misuse of that minute independence for the conditioned soul to think that he can also enjoy like the Supreme Lord, or think, why shall I not be a free enjoyer like the Supreme Lord? This forgetfulness of his constitutional position is due to anger or envy. This two things go together, anger or envy. So this tendency, that mentality that we want to enjoy in separate from Krishna and not acknowledging his supremacy, that is Tamishra. Now, under Tamishra is a little bad, is more worse than this. Under Tamishra means one thinks that death is the ultimate end. It's almost like it is atheism. Atheism means, like, somehow or other you live a happy life. You're never accountable for whatever you do. Death is going to come, and nothing is beyond. There is nothing beyond death. So just live a life, like a animal life, and you can do whatever sins you want. So that is under Tamishra, lower than that. And then why does this under Tamishra comes? That is because of tamas, because one doesn't know who he is. That is why he's thinking that death is all in all, and he hasn't even inquired about who am I, what is my nature, who am I connected to, what is my eternal duty. He's in total ignorance, tamas, never inquired about his spiritual soul. And what to speak of his relationship with the Supreme Lord, never thought about that. And what do those people who are in ignorance, what do? They're simply guided by sex life. And as soon as they get an opportunity for that, they create a home, relatives, motherland, everything, and the attachment increases, and that becomes moha, this illusion. And then they create societies, families, nationalities, and then they become mad after that material enjoyment. Because especially in this age of Kali, which is the consumerism is being promoted like anything, everybody is mad after getting material possessions, and that is Mahamoha. So those are the 5 things. Kamisra, due to envy and anger, we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. And the Tamisra, there is nothing beyond that. I'll do whatever I can to enjoy this life. Tamas, I have no idea who am I, what is the nature of my soul, nothing, just totally bodily concept. And then creates, the sex life is the cause of this material creation. That's how they think. And then once they get an opportunity for that, then moha comes. And then when moha comes, it really deepens. One becomes mad, and that is Mahamoha. That is this material world. That's the first job that one creates. So it's so sad. But we also think that it's a happy place sometimes. Okay, now things will move on fast. Now in the next verse, so Brahma was disgusted with his body of ignorance, and then he threw off that body. Means I'm still not sure, like if the consciousness or is his body, maybe Srinivas Prabhu or someone can explain about that, but I'm just literally explaining. And from that ignorance, the yakshas and rakshasas, they try to take that body, and which continue to exist in the form of night. Night means it's a source of hunger and thirst. So hunger means they just want to eat, eat, eat. So these rakshasas and yakshas still exist, and they take pleasure in killing their own grandfathers and holding a love feast by roasting their bodies. So those people who said, like, do not, these yakshas and rakshasas said that do not eat me, but when they came back after, the one set of people who said he should be eaten, Brahma should be eaten, and those are called yakshas. And then some said that Brahma should not be protected, and those are called Rakshasas. So that those Rakshasas are man eaters. So I was just thinking how much it would have been so painful for Brahma that he he creates these two Yakshas and Rakshasas, and they come running after him to eat him and not giving him any protection. So if this kind of precarious condition is being felt by the creator, Brahma himself, we can totally, the problems that we face are actually nothing, because it's just the nature of this world. No matter how much you do, whatever your intentions are, there will always be situations like this where we are totally bewildered, because he creates. Sometimes we create and we think that, oh, because I created, it should be like this, but then it's not. Whatever they created tries to come and eat them. Now we are in verse 22. So after this, that was night time, which is hunger and thirst. Now Brahma is creating the chief demigods who were shining of the glory of goodness. He dropped them from he dropped before them the effulgent form of daytime. Yakshas and Rakshasas were created due to ignorance and in the night, and the demigods came out of the quality of goodness and during the daytime. And then Lord Brahma gave birth to the demons from his buttocks, and they were always fond of sensual enjoyment, and they were too lustful. They just want to enjoy the material life. That's their first and foremost goal in their life. And after seeing this, Brahma laughed at this stupidity. So what happened is these demons started running after their father to have essential enjoyment with him. So what can Brahma do? Because his intentions were right, but still he was put into this situation in the course of doing his work to please the Lord. So what does he do? He ran to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does Supreme Personality of Godhead do? He bestows all boons, and he dispels the agony of his devotees who take shelter of his lotus feet. And then this is such a beautiful purport that Prabhupada writes. This is 3:20:25. I think. No, not this one. No, that's 28. But this is also a good one. In the purport, Prabhupada says that the personality of Godhead takes many, many forms because according to the desires of the devotees. That's a strong statement. Krishna manifests his forms according to the desires of the devotees, like how Hanumanji wanted to see the form as Lord as Ramachandra, and then the Gaudiya Vaishnavas want to see him as Radha Krishna, and some devotees want to see him as Lakshmi Narayana. And then the Mayavadis are attached to the impersonal form. But one main point that Prabhupada smashes here is that Mayavadi's philosophers say that, oh, he just takes all these forms, but his original nature is that he's impersonal. But it is said in
Mataji,
Brahma Samhita.
Mataji, we can't see your face. Your video has turned up. Most of it is covered by these hangout icons. You might want to lower your video.
Oh, sorry, bro.
Yeah, this is good.
So, and the Prabhupada quotes this verse of Advaitam Achyutam, means the Lord appears before the devotees. Why? Because of the devotees' imagination. And then it's not like one or two forms. Rama Dimurtishu Kalani Yamena Tishtan means Lord exists in millions and millions of forms. But for example, the human species, like there are 8,400,000 species of living entities, but that is the count for the species of living entities. But for incarnations of the Lord, they are innumerable. So it's according to the imagination of the Lord. Like how much the supreme controller becomes controlled by the love of a devotee. It's so amazing. Prabhupada quotes another example. The waves in the sea cannot be counted, but appear and disappear continually. Like that, the incarnations and forms of the Lord are innumerable. And all of these forms are eternal. And Bhaktanam Anurupata Darshanam means why there are so many forms? Because the Lord just wants to favor the devotee in, in a particular form which the devotee wants. So, whenever there is a trouble in a life of devotees like Brahma, they approach the Lord, and he approached Kshirodakashayi, Vishnu, and it is the grace of the Kshirodakashayi, Vishnu, that Brahma gets relief from all the disturbances that he faces in the process of creation. So Brahma is offering his prayers, his request that please protect me from these sinful demons. And I created them under your order, but now I am in trouble because they're trying to attack me. And Prabhupada makes a point that like how these demons try to have essential enjoyment with their own father. The concept of this homosexuality is there since then. It's not unnatural. Means it's there and it's a demoniac. And Prabhupada says that, in other words, the homosexual appetite of a man for another man is demoniac, and it's not for any sane male in the ordinary course of life. So he condemns that. But I still don't know why it was created in the first place. But because I think it's because of the sinful desires of the demons, and the Lord facilitates that. But considering what's happening today, isn't it evident that the demons have increased? Anyways, that's for further discussion. And then Brahma tries to offer prayers further. He says that you, means the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, are the only one capable of ending the affliction of the distressed and inflicting agony on those who never resort to your lotus feet. So Prabhupada says that there are two things that Lord is concerned about. One, to give protection to the persons who take shelter of him. And the second is give trouble to the demoniac who are inimical towards the Lord. So those are the two activities of the Lord, and Brahma is pointing out, please give me protection from these demons. And in further verse, it said that the Lord can distinctly see the minds of others, and he could perceive Brahma's distress. And then he said, cast off this impure body of yours. So how does Brahma do that? How can he cast off the body? And this is a very beautiful purport, that first 5 lines I would like to read. The Lord is described here by the word Viviktadhyatma Darshanaha. And here starts the nectar. If anyone can completely perceive another's distress without doubt, it is the Lord Himself. If someone is in distress and wants to get relief from his friend, sometimes it so happens that his friend does not appreciate the volume of distress he is suffering. Almost all the time it happens, especially in Kali Yuga, where there is no time to even sit and reveal your heart to anybody else. It's so difficult. But for the Supreme Lord, it's not difficult. The Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, is sitting within the heart of every living entity, and He directly perceives the exact cause of distress. So, like Vaishika Prabhupada was saying in a seminar, how one should be proactive, I think, in that, avoid procrastination. In that lecture, he said all of us should learn how to become accountable for Paramatma. So I think once we become like that, he becomes a friend that he exactly understands what our distress is and gives us the intelligence of how to get out of that distress. So such a big relief. And you don't have to spend so much time or anything. It's just purify our intentions and be sincere and follow the principles. Then Paramatma gets pleased. So through our surrender, we can perceive the presence of the Lord within our heart. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain that the dropping of this body actually doesn't mean that Brahma committed suicide, but actually Brahma gave up that particular mentality. He gave up that sinful thought. And then Prabhupada also makes another main point, that the mental condition of a child depends upon the mental status of his parents at the time he is conceived. So one should perform, means why that body, why Sridodakashayi Vishnu wanted Brahma to give up his body was because it was full of passion. And the creation that happened when Brahma was in passion created these demons. So he wants him to give up that body, means which is the mentality. So Prabhupada says that if we want to have children in the mode of goodness, it's really about the mentality of the parents at the time of conception. So Prabhupada says that their mind has to be purified by Garbhadan Samskara. So perplexed mind has to be sanctified. So then now Brahma gave up his body, and that took the form of twilight, the conjunction of day and night, which kindles passion. And then the demons are very much attracted to this twilight, because after this they can have enjoyment, sensual enjoyment. So Prabhupada says, like how the Brahma Muhurta is very favorable for spiritual cultivation, the beginning of the evening period is for passion, and the demons love that. And they imagine the twilight to be a beautiful woman, and all her forms and everything is explained in the verse 30 and 31, how the demons perceived her and how they tried to see her as an object for their sensual enjoyment. In the purport of verse 31, Srila Prabhupada makes a wonderful point that the beautiful form of a woman can only agitate the minds of demons. It cannot agitate the minds of demigods, the godly person. Because the godly persons have knowledge that this whatever form in which, however beautiful the form of a woman is, they know that it's Maya. And Shankaracharya has said that all the beauty that a woman can display is only a combination of flesh and blood. One should not be attracted towards that type of beauty, but one should be attracted towards Radha and Krishna. So that is the main difference between a godly person and a devotee, because they are not attracted to Maya or flesh and blood. They are attracted to Krishna and Radha. And then the demons try to praise her, saying that, oh, she's so self-controlled, she is youthful, how about her movements, all these things they are trying to express passion. And in verse 33, it says that the wicked-minded asuras treated her with respect and very fondly. So which happens in this material world also when a relationship gets formed, and if it's not based on love, then if it's based on lust, unnecessarily one will be glorified by the opposite sex. But the main aim is that there is hankering for the body. That's a women's what the man wants from a woman or women wants from a man is a body, because the consciousness is full of lust. But it seems like they're treating her with respect, but they're not, because they want to enjoy her body. So the demons further try to talk about the the girl. They're talking like, who are you? Whose daughter are you? Why are you appearing before us? Oh, we are unfortunate. You're so beautiful. So everything they are explaining in verse 34. Prabhupada makes a really strong statement. He says, which is common even in people of the material world, because the demoniac can pay any price for the skin beauty of this material world. They work very hard all day and night, but the purpose of their hard work is to enjoy sex life, the skin beauty, which is a skin disease. But sometimes they say that they are karma yogis because they do karma, but the your karma becomes a yoga only when you offer the results of your work to in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in verse 35, they continue to glorify the beautiful girl, and then they explain about how when she was playing a ball, it agitated the mind of onlookers. And Prabhupada smashes the mentality of the modern world to create so many so-called sports. Even tennis. Prabhupada is saying that sometimes the demoniac arrange so-called sports like tennis with the opposite sex. The purpose of such sporting is to see the bodily construction of the beautiful girl and enjoy a subtle sex mentality. That's very strong. So Prabhupada says that everything that's happening is just to propagate the attraction between men and women, where the knot becomes very hard and nobody can get out of this material world. So Prabhupada says that even if they engage in material enjoyment, nobody can enjoy it for a long time. But when it is given up completely, then one can enter into spiritual life, and that is real happiness, Brahma Saukya. And this happens by the process of chanting the holy names. All the traces never to come back. Lust is completely removed even in the life of ordinary persons if one sincerely earns for this, that let me give it up completely and let me be firmly established in Brahma Saukya. So it's not impossible, it's just chanting, through chanting and prayers. And then they continue in verse 36, and they give a graphic example talking more about how the playing is and how it agitates their mind. And it's more and more talking about the same thing more and more only increases the desire to enjoy. And that's what they're doing. And then Prabhupada calls these demons as moths, like how they fall into the skin disease. And in verse 37, they seized her finally. And then whatever the sensual enjoyment ends up in, and then they are entangled. So after this, Brahma continues. Brahma has to see all this. He created demons. He could not control them. He somehow protected himself. But he doesn't stop there because something happens in our lives. At least in my life, my tendency is just stop and you're frozen, don't know what to do. But then Brahma, what did Brahma do? With a laugh full of deep significance, the worshipful Brahma then evolved by his own loveliness, which seemed to enjoy itself by itself the hosts of Gandharvas and Apsaras. He moved on with his creation. He didn't stop for anything. He just created this the Apsaras and the Gandharvas who play music and dancing, like they're experts in all arts. Prabhupada says one main thing: music and dancing employed in sense gratification ought to be accepted as demoniac. Like all the cinemas and the sports performances, everything is demoniac. But the same music and dancing, when employed in glorifying the Supreme Lord as Kirtana, are transcendental and they bring about a life completely fit for spiritual enjoyment. A life completely fit for spiritual enjoyment. So that is the purpose of music and dancing. So and then Brahma, I totally don't understand. I'm just reading the purport. Like after that, Brahma gave up the shining and beloved form of moonlight. Like after twilight comes the moon, and then Vishwavasu and other Gandharvas, they took that of that moonlight, and then Brahma, from his sloth, the goats and the fiends uh, were created, and Brahma was so, like, he just closed his eyes. We could not see because they were naked and their hair was scattered. So Brahma just closed his eyelids. So Prabhupada says that these ghosts and goblins are not unreal. They are not false. They do exist because they were part of this creation. And then these two ghosts and hobgoblins took the form of yawning that Brahma threw off. And then one main thing, it is said that this is also known as the sleep which causes drooling. Like if anybody drools when sleeping, it is said that these ghosts attack those people. It is clearly stated that when a man is fast asleep and saliva flows from his mouth and he remains unclean, ghosts then take advantage of his unclean state and haunt his body. That's why it said that one has to wash their feet and mouth and brush and be clean when before going to bed, and then say the prayers that in gratitude to Govinda, so that we don't end up in be caught by these ghosts and hobgoblins. And then now Brahma feels like he's full of desire and energy, and then from his navel he creates sadhyas and pitas. And the sadhyas and pitas are the invisible form of the devoted souls. And for these sadhyas and pitas, one offers some foodstuffs in the form of shraddha, like, and shraddha happens in Gaya. But Prabhupada says that it's not required for devotees to do that, because Lord Narishingadev promised that if anybody takes to a spiritual life in a family, 14 generations before and after are automatically delivered. So the main shraddha is to become totally Krishna conscious and engage in the service of Krishna. And that will please and all the forefathers and relieve them from all suffering. They'll be automatically relieved. So a separate endeavor to do this is not required. So that's up till 43rd verse. Now going on to verse 44. Brahma goes on with his creation and he creates Siddhas and Vidyadharas, and then he gives them the form of Antardana, means they can, which can be perceived to be present, but they cannot be seen by vision. So he gives that benediction. And then Brahma beheld his own reflection in water and he admired himself. And then the Kimpurushas and Kinnaras got out of that reflection. And then these Kimpurushas and Kinnaras took possession of the shadowy form that was left by Krishna. This is why the spouses of the Kimpurushas and Kinnaras sing his praise by recounting his exploits at every daybreak. So what Prabhupada is saying is, the time early in the morning, 1.5 hours before sunrise, is called Brahma Muhurta. During this Brahma Muhurta, spiritual activities are recommended. Spiritual activities performed early in the morning have a greater effect than in any other part of the day. So that's the key thing. So now Brahma lays down, he stretched his body to full length, and in a sullen mood he gave up that body. And a head dropped from that body, and that became snakes. And then ferocious serpents and nagas, everything expanded from that head. And one fine day, this is verse 49, one fine day Brahma felt that he has accomplished everything, and at that time, from his mind, Manus were created. Manus who are responsible for the welfare of the universe. And to that Manu, Brahma gave the form of human beings, the human form. And then on seeing this, the Manu, the demigods, the Gandharvas and everybody applauded Brahma. And they all praised Brahma, that what you have done, what you have produced is so well done. Because all the ritualistic activities to break the bonds of the cycle of birth and death, and all the sacrificial oblations can be done only in the human form of life. Because, and then Prabhupada refers to the verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that, where Prabhupada writes that by cooperation with men and demigods, by doing sacrifices, everything will prosper and will get elevated. But what is the main thing? The main thing is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in whatever way that is done, then we'll be happy. So after that, Brahma equipped himself with austerity, adoration, mental concentration, absorption and devotion, and then he created and he controlled all his senses, and then the great sages came out of him as Brahma's beloved sons. So this shows like what kind of qualifications are there in these sages. And Prabhupada says that what is essential is Vidya or worship. Vidya, Prabhupada says, is worship of the Supreme Lord. And then Vidya, we say it's knowledge, but Prabhupada talks about in terms of action, where you worship, with your knowledge, you worship the Supreme Lord. And he also talks about the word of yoga, where he says that, oh, it's not your bodily postures, but you should concentrate your mind upon the super soul. That is yoga. So Brahma created these sages to help us to show the path in that direction. So this is, we are in the last verse. So to each one of these sons, Brahma gave a part of his own body, and which was full of deep meditation, mental concentration, supernatural power, austerity, adoration, and renunciation. So Prabhupada says that these are the qualities of godly men, and unless we are attached to these principles, there is no way we can understand this, get any spiritual realization. And Prabhupada brings it to any practical, like it just, the rubber meets the road. What is it? Prabhupada says that there are four things that needs to be avoided. Means no illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, no intoxication, and no gambling. So these four principles, if one could do throughout their life, that is austerity. And then one has to think of Krishna. And that is the process of spiritual realization. So no matter how high, phenomenal the process is, Prabhupada brings it to our level, saying that in this Kali Yuga, avoid these four and think of Krishna, you will get the success. So that ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the third canto, 12th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Conversation between Maitreya and Vidur. Thank you for tolerating me, and let's open for discussion.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Tadawal pranams, Prabhu.
Very nice session, Mataji. I mean, I didn't have any particular question, but you went through all the points, important points, in a sequential and a systematic way. I think after reading this chapter, maybe subconsciously, whatever desire I had to know about the higher planets, those went away actually. Even going through so much of struggle. I mean, it looks like suddenly I thought this looks like this looks like our work day. One day
Yeah,
there is
exactly, yes.
there's so much of struggle, but
Yes.
you can see towards the end of the whole creation, Brahma, created the sages with austerity and with purity and with mental concentration, deep meditation, everything. So that was because of, I think, his purified thoughts
Yes.
and.
Everything that he went through culminated in that consciousness. Thank you very much. Yeah. That's a very important point. So no matter how much we suffer, in the end we get all these godly qualities, which is the promise.
Right, right. So thank you again, Mataji. It was a wonderful class.
No, thank you. Vedavit Prabhu. Maybe he's speaking.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, I unmuted. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mataji. Very nice, wonderful presentation. The first half an hour I was not able to follow because of Sankirtan, National Sankirtan call by Vaishesh Prabhu. But later I was following and I was able to understand how the demoniac life will be and how cruel the demoniac life is. And you nicely explained how, the the demons enjoy sex life and how sinful they are. And I just have like two questions, Mataji. I was reading the purport when you are mentioning, and I saw that. Yeah, so Brahma, when he was not in good mind, he created the demons. So it's not the like I thought the demons are also part of the creation. This is because of the Lord's will or something like that. But it is because of Brahma is not his mind is not in correct order. Brahma's mind was
Yeah,
not in correct order when he created demons.
yeah, he was in passion.
That was the reason.
Yeah, but you see, sometimes we do some blunder. But the thing is,
Hmm.
first of all, we cannot blame it on Krishna. But why
Yeah,
was
yeah.
you know, Krishna wanted it, and Krishna is just meeting us in a way how things has to happen. But sometimes we cannot blame it on ourselves, but at the same time, we have to take shelter because Brahma, first of all, he was so morose that he had to create this ignorance of five types of ignorance and all that. And then he had to go into the mode of passion and create all these demons who will create such a havoc in the material world. But everything is happening according to the perfect desire of the supreme autocrat, as Mukunda Datta Prabhu says. But he he doesn't dump it on Krishna. He goes to Krishna and takes shelter of it. I did this, but now how do I get back to the real thing that I want to do? So yes, it was the desire of Krishna, but Brahma was forced to be in that situation to create the demons because it has to happen. Somebody has to do it because there are some souls who want to act in that way.
Yeah. Actually, Prabhupada mentions that when Prabhupada mentions that when somebody is giving birth to the child, they have to go through the Garbhadana Samskara, so that the pious sons will be born or something like that, right?
Because the mentality.
You got it, Mataji?
Yeah.
Okay. And another question is, it is mentioned when we engage our senses completely in the service of the Lord, so we'll be elevated from the demons to the level of demigods. Because I thought the demigods also will be inclined to the sex like sense enjoyment and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe is it
Yeah, Prabhuji,
is it my
it's not a very glamorous thing to be a demigod also. We had to go beyond that. But
yeah,
of the two,
at
demigods,
least
yeah, at least they go to Krishna um, for any kind of help. They don't deny the existence of the Lord, so they are Suras.
yeah. And in another purport, like because even our suppose like the children, if they are not in our control, but is it the thing is to leave them as it is like that, or like because Lord Brahma, Prabhupada says sexually inclined demons have no respect even for their father, and the best policy for a saintly father like Brahma is to leave such demoniac sons. Or is it better to like correct them or put them in the right path or just leave?
Oh, Prabhuji, the thing is, it depends on how the situation is. Here, they were trying to kill Brahma. Brahma's life is at stake, so he has to leave. So for us also same thing because we try our best to give the good thing, but you know what? Everybody comes from karma, and it's so. What Prabhu was telling in his lecture, right? It's such a bad thing that sometimes um, after like 18 years or 17 years, 18 years, 17 years of your hard work, you'll be taken away. because either in good way or bad way, but it will go. But even if it is in a bad way, we can only tell to some extent. If our life is in that is why, some parents and some people, when we cultivate Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada also states that means they just don't live in the temple and just take care of the, means they should take care of the children as deities, but they should also engage in service, distributing books and all. Because then, whenever a tragedy like this comes in your life, you have some shelter, because otherwise some parents, after their kids get married and they go away, their life becomes empty and they don't know what to do, and they're like completely lost because so much attachment was there. But if somebody cultivates both an attachment to service also, then it becomes easy. And like worst case, maybe I just extrapolated that. The main thing is, say, as far as kids are concerned, we can only say to the extent possible, and then we can pray. That thing that is also proved in the creation work of Brahma. When Bach was created, which is the lady form, and Brahma got attracted towards her, and he is running after her. And then what the sons do? They cannot tell anything. They just pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saying that you are living as Paramatma within Brahma's heart. I cannot tell it. You please do it. So if that happens even in our kids' case, sometimes we tell, we do so many things, but they just become so rebellious. Then we just take complete shelter of Krishna and tell that you are there as sheltered within their heart. You please change their heart. And then, as Prabhupada said, Krishna will do the needful to do that. It's such a difficult thing for me. It's hard. Yes, and that's my understanding.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah, that's all I have, Mataji.
Thank you.
Awesome to this. Thank you.
Charan Prabhu, who next? We are not hearing you. Okay.
Sripal Prabhu has to leave early, so maybe we can finish Sundar and Sri Gopal every time first.
Sure.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Thank you for a excellent presentation. We can see that you went through the whole purports, line by line. You were discussing so nicely.
I just started this 3 a.m. this morning, Prabhuji.
Very well.
But it was
skimmed through it. Yeah.
No, it was very extensive, and very comprehensive presentation of the purports. Thank you so much. So one comment I had was, like, in the second verse there was a comment made, and you also pointed that out. Like, if the Krishna is not honored in a place, and that place is not fit for the human habitation. It's a place unfit for human habitation. So thinking about that, in this material world, in this yuga especially, right? There is not many places, or most of the place is where Krishna is not honored, and practically all these places are not fit for human habitation.
Yeah.
It's a very very profound statement. So which tells us that only duty for us is to be in association of the devotees. As long as we are in association of the devotees, and that we can sustain our life as a humans, and do our devotional service.
Yes, Prabhuji, perfect.
Yeah. And sorry, Mataji, my power is going down. I'm just connecting the power.
Sure.
So other comment I had was, just like Brahma created out of passion the demons and the yakshas and rakshasas, I was thinking that even we ourselves, like in mode of passion, humans especially, like we create so much products, like you were talking about consumerism and lot of products, all the computers and technology and all those things, thinking that it's it's good for us, but they actually capture us, and they make make kind of too much attached to those kinds of things, and actually slaves of those devices. So I was thinking, even we in the mode of passion create so many things that is not good for us.
But like Govind Charan Prabhu, we have to dovetail those also in the devotional service, like who Google's
Yes.
Hangout, right?
Yes. So yes, that is, but it takes lot of there is a
Yeah,
subtle things. It takes
it's not
lot of
easy. It's not
it's
easy.
not easy. Yes. You have to be very committed
Yeah,
to
actually, I'm facing that, Prabhu. Right now, I'm facing that because I bought this iPad for actually, for the Bhakti Vaibhava session,
Mm.
and I'm not able to control my son not to use this now.
So yeah, it's very subtle actually. Yeah. So I think that's it from my end, Mataji, and it was very nice again. Thank you so much for presenting.
Thank you, Prabhu. Who's next? Prabhu?
Sri
Um,
Govind,
yeah, if anybody is having have to go early, you can do. Otherwise, I can do. Okay. So thank you so much, Mataji. There was such a what is called like many grave purports, and I'm just wondering how every week Krishna arranges the person to match the mood of the chapter. You are such a grave person, like always very steady and fixed and committed in devotional service, and the chapters was kind of emphasizing that point of how one should be so strict.
I
And
really feel embarrassed, Prabhuji, actually.
what?
I was just a I really feel embarrassed. I was just a tape recorder, but Brahma
Yeah,
is showing us something in his through his life. That was really inspiring.
it's like you are always focused on purification, even though you are so fixed and do so many services. You always think of improving. So you can see how Brahma gradually evolved until the point of generating these sages. So it's all very nicely presented. So one thing I was thinking is all this. Last week I was discussing with this skeptics group at Google, trying to defend Dhruta Prabhu, his program. They were complaining that we shouldn't have such programs. So I was trying to explain how it's all very scientific and everything. And
Mm.
so on reading this chapter, I was just thinking how these guys will, take it if we say this is what we mean by, creation or human devolution. This is how, this craving for and everything. It's like, they'll be like completely, like confused, and even for us, it's a stretch of a faith, because there are a lot of concepts here that they are not. We don't have experience of many of those. So, but we take it on the our understanding is based on the faith that the shastras are perfect, and they give us a knowledge for which we won't have enough enough a framework to understand these things. So just like like for a modern man, if he has to understand particle physics and things like that, it's not something he can relate with in his normal life. As it's not just like concepts like gravity or heat and cold. It's much deeper. So one has to have that particular understanding of quantum mechanics and other deeper subjects in order to appreciate the research, cutting edge research some people are doing. So I was thinking like that. All these concepts are presented in this verse is so deep. There are like
Mm.
a lot of in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Um, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says every verse of the Bhagavatam, every syllable can be interpreted in multiple ways.
Mm.
So many meanings. It's not just only one meaning. So the purport Srila Prabhupada presents, some of these meanings, but actually, there are so many levels in which one can appreciate it, and I was just thinking how deep the subject matter that we have been gifted with this, and even if we take or understand a little bit of it, that is still so beneficial. And approach. I mean, it helped me to understand that we have to approach this in that mood. That's very important. Otherwise, sometimes we may get frustrated as, oh, why can't I understand this? Why is not Bhagavatam simple like that? But the thing is, it's trying to explain a version of the absolute, truth, and the version of the reality that actually happened, for which we don't have any access to appreciate. So we just have to, bow down and take it with respect. So help me understand that.
Prabhu, what is your comment on Sri Gopal Prabhu's like comment on the devices and all those passionate we created? We are becoming victim of that. I wanted to hear from you.
Yeah, it's it's a very important balance, and right. It's yeah. It's I mean, that spirit of Yukta Vairagya is not easy. It's the principle seems, but that's what they call adhikar. One has to have the adhikar to utilize it, and one should always be aware of. It's like a double-edged sword, Prabhupada says. So, when it's needed for service, I mean, generally, if at all we have to err, we should err on the side of, avoiding things. If you always err on that side, and then embrace only as much as necessary, we'll be protected. Otherwise, one nice lecture Radhana Swami says, we can justify Maya in so many ways.
Yes.
That tendency is always there. That's why we justify everything in the name of Yukta Vairagya, and that's very dangerous, because we are not true to ourselves. So that's one thing. And another thing is always have a circle of friends whom you can consult, as Gandharvika Mataji was telling in one of these things. Nowadays people are so busy, we don't have time to even consult, but we should take the time to consult and introspect and open up, and in that association, because the others they may not be influenced by the same desires or the same problems that our mind may be influencing us by. So they are relatively neutral. So that'll be a good way to double check or understand that.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. And yeah, another thing is the balance. Actually, that's why one thing I have learned is the devotees emphasize chanting in the morning, so that so the idea is to, when we chant nicely, we carry that consciousness through the activities in the day, and that consciousness is what makes it material or spiritual, the activity or the usage of gadgets. So if the consciousness not strong, then it's hard to I mean, it's possible, but whether you can do it or not, that is the question. It's not there's no question on the principle, the question is in the application. So that differs according to people, and one has to find the right balance. And so that's the part of the learning process.
Yeah.
And then Mataji, thank you once again so much, Maria. So Keshwar Mataji or Govind Prabhu, you want to go next? One of you?
Can I go, Prabhu? Govinda Prabhu, are you in a hurry? You want to go first?
No, I was in mute actually. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very, very wonderful class, Mataji. Really fantastic. I felt that you probably, as Prabhuji said, literally everything from the purport. You probably covered every bit of it, and I felt that this chapter was really heavy. had lots of important points and lots of things that we deal day to day. And I was just thinking about you talked about the homosexuals, and because these questions have always arisen, when I got to Krishna consciousness about why these things occur. And yeah, and I also have this big doubt that why would of course, being in the Kupastha Mandupa, maybe I don't understand why certain things happen, but I was thinking that it would be very nice if I realized why such things happen. If we can keep away from such difficult things, it's so hard to because I do there's a counseling group that goes along at work, and with people like that, and so it's pretty hard to go over it. But I was just thinking that I hope that living entities didn't have to do this. So beautiful class, Martin. I was also thinking about what Govind Prabhu you just mentioned, and that early morning bathing the intellect. I'm remembering the words because yesterday we were just talking about this while we were distributing Bhagavad Gita at Cupertino Festival. We were just talking about how good it is to read Bhagavad Gita every day, and as you mentioned, if we chant in the morning and the entire day. I mean, I was just imagining one of the things that Vaisheshika Prabhu sends in Shravanadijal, that if you do your 16 rounds at one go, and especially in the morning, then there is no way that Maya can touch you and read Prabhupada books. But it's such a hard thing, and I'm just trying to think that just following a little bit of thing, for a couple days I follow and then it's gone. I hope I'll be able to do it every day with all your blessings. Beautiful class, Mataji, Gandharvika Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for nice class, Mataji. Going through all the verses and the purport of the this chapter. I really like this. Music and dancing can be used for kirtans, but when it used for materialistic thing, then it is actually it causes disturbance and can pull us down. I had a question about the Pitas, the planet of Pitas. So when the Shraddha ceremony is offered, like it continues for many years. So does the Pitas, they remain on that sphere of existence? Because as a soul they will come back again. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we cannot hear you. Mataji?
Okay.
I see like
Yes,
can you
we
hear
can.
me now? Okay.
Yeah.
So Prabhuji, this is what I have heard in the essence of it. That the Shraddha act, it is not, it's ideally you see, it's not that the Shraddha that we do, we have the power to elevate a soul from the Pita planets and go through his cycle. We are powerless, okay? But the technique is the Shraddha that we do pleases the Lord, okay? And when the Lord is pleased, he delivers them from the from whatever situation, bad situation they are in. And then I'm not sure that only after doing Shraddha for so many years they get delivered. They might have been delivered even before that, like one Shraddha, two Shraddha, means we can talk about the technicalities. But the main thing is because it pleases the Lord. That's why Prabhupada is saying that it's not necessary for devotees to do that because we have a better way of pleasing the Lord. So, and then one continues to do the Shraddha is not for the benefit of his Pitas actually. It's actually for his benefit to please the Lord. You understand? Like some people who don't have this real knowledge of how to please Krishna as his servant and all that, and more into rituals and things like that. This is a way of pleasing the Lord. But the essence of that is please the Lord, then the Lord has the power to deliver them, but not we. And continuing to do that over one's lifetime pleases the Lord, and that's the, and so that you don't end up in such situations like that. So that's my understanding of that. But in Sri Vaishnava, this thing is very, very focused. Like
Yeah.
they very much say that we should do this main thing. But in our Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Prabhupada says it's not required because it's just another way of pleasing the Lord.
And the other way is also to take Mataji, as they are living, we are already attached, and even after living, still we are attached, by doing Shraddha and all those things.
Yeah. Yes, there is nothing wrong. See, the thing is, Shraddha actually should not make us feel like, oh, I am doing this and elevating my parents. Never. We cannot even elevate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's just obeying the instructions of the Lord that He has given in the Vedas, and that obeying pleases the Lord.
I see.
Yeah, that it's not us doing it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mati, for elaborating on this. This is one question I had for a long time. Because like the pitas, those who are gone to the planets may actually continue their spiritual journey somewhere else. So why one should continue?
They might even go back to Godhead, right?
Yeah, they may go back there as well.
So
But
it's
this
just
is for
that
the individual to elevate himself, seems like, as you mentioned. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I think this was very nice discussion with you. Thank you for um, like telling us how we can apply them in our life. Another question I had is about the Brahma living different bodies, like in the form of yawning and others. So, are these subtle bodies, or like how we can understand this?
yeah, I was also not very clear on that, Prabhuji, but I would assume could be subtle body because it says it's more than 3 dimensions, so it's so difficult to comprehend like at what level it happened. Like it's subtle. So I'm not sure if he left his gross body or his subtle body, especially in the case of Yanni, and then giving up the body of ignorance and all those things. It's very straightforward. Maybe we should read the purpose of other acharyas to understand that better. Means whatever I say now will be simply a speculation and mental concoction because I don't have the right understanding.
Okay, I think it's something to explore. But yeah. Thank you very much, Madhuri. Hare Krishna.
Alright, so I think we are done, isn't it? Govind Charan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
And then the essay is due tomorrow, right? I haven't started it yet, so
You know, hmm?
11:59 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow I see. Okay.
7th, yeah. I mean,
11:59 p.m. 11:59 p.m.
like tomorrow night.
Yeah, I haven't even started, so I'm just asking because anyway,
Out
the
with
due date is tonight.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I know all the questions. I made a document and kept the questions that I have to
Mataji.
give answers.
Yeah, Rasika Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Making it easy for us, Govind Charan Prabhu and Rasika Mataji, because otherwise it will be so difficult to go and consolidate and things like that. And for the reminders. Okay.
Hare
Anything
Thank
else,
you very
Prabhuji?
much.
Thank you very much.
Krishna.
Huh?
So the whole class is 2 hours, Prabhu, right now, 7:15 to 9:15. I saw.
Yeah.
So
So you
that
want
way
to
we can reduce our.
Prabhu?
What, Mataji?
You want to hang out for 15 more minutes?
No, I wanted to fulfill the like criteria for Bhakti Vaibhav sessions. Like
Oh, you can write it, Prabhu.
because no, based on that